I'd like to take the second here to invite a team from Washington, D.C. to come on up and have a seat on the stage. And as they're coming, in pure Andy fashion, I forgot to make an announcement. So as they're coming, I'm going to just read this. I've been asked to announce a get-together or reunion of the Baptist High Fellowship Group of the 70s today. It's today at 2:30 to 5 p.m. at the home of Nancy Robb, 46 Callaghan in Riverview. This is a time to reminisce with those youth and young adults who were under the mentorship of Ken and Blanche Vincent. Any further questions to get directions, please see Blanche or Nancy after the service. Thank you. I'd like to start off by reading. You heard the first verse that I'm going to be focusing on this morning, Matthew 28:19 and 20. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey all I have commanded, and I will be with you surely to the very end of the age. And the other passage, which goes right along with it, I believe is almost, that verse is an extension of this one, is this. But the Pharisees heard that it's Matthew 22, verses 34 to 40. Matthew 22, verses 34 to 40. It says, when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees with his reply, they met together to question him once again. One of them, an expert in the religious law, tried to trap him with this question, Teacher, which is the most important commandment in the law of Moses? Jesus replied, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the commandments and all the demands of the prophets are based upon these two commandments. So Jesus says the most important thing, the first four commandments in the 10 commandments, love God. And then he continues to say, but the second, he didn't say is less, he says is like it, right? Which is the next 6 commandments, which are about loving others. Don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't be jealous, don't steal, don't tell lies. Those are all us to each other, how we're to behave. But then he asks the question, okay, so we're supposed to love God, we're supposed to love others. What does that look like? How do we do that? And I firmly believe with all my heart, and this is something that I tell the youth all the time, you love God and you love others by using the gifts that he's blessed you with to serve each other and to serve him. And that's what we're going to be celebrating this morning as part of our service, is we're going to celebrate what God has called us to do. You know, and I think it's amazing when we see the kinds of things that our youth have done. You know, and before I turn, I have a slideshow that we're going to show, and I have some questions that I'm going to ask the kids and the adults, or the older kids, we'll say, right? Totally. But I want to ask a question. Why did I go to D.C.? Why did we spend the money to rent a bus and drive all the way down to Washington, D.C.? The answer is simple. Well, maybe not, but the answer is an answer. When we grow up in our town, in our area, sometimes we become desensitized to the things that are around us. Sometimes things just seem normal that aren't normal. And sometimes what we need to step forward and to move forward and to grow in our relationship is to see those exact same things in a different setting, because it makes us more sensitive to them when we come home. And research shows in Canada, this is not a Barna poll from down in the States, this is actual research that was done with thousands of young adults in Canada. Research shows that over 90% of teenagers or young adults who went on short-term mission trips stay believers. So of the people who are believers, over 90% of them went on short-term mission trips. The numbers don't lie. They're important. Are we going to change Washington, D.C.? No, probably not. But I want you to listen to something very carefully as we talk this morning, because I think it's something that this was kind of our motto throughout the week. How do you spell love? Can someone tell me who wasn't here in the bridge how to spell love? Pardon? Well, I'll tell you. T-I-M-E, time. We can serve people anywhere. We can give people things, and we can have a soup kitchen and drop food off at a table. But it's the time that takes that counts. It's going to people and saying, you know what? I could be doing 100 other things right now, but I'm choosing, because you're worth it, because you're one of God's creation, to give you time. And that's what we did. A few of the places that we worked this week, or that week, was it was a rehabilitation seniors home. So most of the people who were there either had physical limitations, and they were being rehabilitated in that way, or they had, I would say, mental limitations as well. And so it was called Cherrydale. It was, like I said, a rehab center. And we also served at a place called Lincoln Heights. Lincoln Heights was what you would consider the projects. I don't like putting a label on it, but there were a lot of brick buildings with a lot of bars. One of the kids even asked me if we were working at a prison when we arrived there. And some places didn't even have windows, just boards. And there were no front doors on any of the buildings. So it was a pretty interesting place. And then the third main area of ministry that we worked at was a homeless shelter in the center of the city. It was one of 5 big centers, and it had roughly 1,100 beds that were all filled. And so we're going to hear a bit about that. And as the week went on, and as you'll hear in some of these stories and see in the slideshow, it wasn't the acts of what we were doing. It was the heart behind it. And I'm telling you, I've never been so proud of a group of people than when I went on this trip in Washington. And you'll hear that as we go this morning. So I just wanted to start with that to give kind of a baseline as to what we were doing in Washington. I'm going to ask a couple questions, and we'll show the slideshow, and then we'll finish off at the end, okay? You guys ready? You stoked? There's a microphone here that John has, so you guys can pass that around. That way I'm not running all over the place. And whoa. It's like,
test.
Where'd that come from? Anyway, okay, so let's here's the first question. What was a way that God challenged you during the week? Anybody?
I'll start off with that, Andy. Our daily devotionals sort of set the tone for the week for me. The first day with Jesus walking on the water and John stepping out of the boat in faith with him, that set the tone for the whole week. And going to the projects and, sorry about the label, and the homeless shelters and stuff like that there, it just really, everybody stepped out of their comfort zones and made it a point to spend time with people.
For myself, I found it kind of challenging to open up to people and pray for them out loud, which I'm not really comfortable doing. But as a leader on the trip, it was important to kind of act as a leader for the kids to be able to do the same for themselves. So throughout the whole week, I was able to grow in that, and God really just was there with me and said it was okay, and I felt really comfortable doing it, so it was really cool.
For me, a challenge was probably going to the homeless shelter. I've actually never really been in one before, and serving here with Soup Kitchen, I didn't really know what to expect when I arrived and didn't really know how to act, but it was a challenge that I overcame, I hope, and yeah.
Anybody else? Well, I'll share one of the challenges that I had going into this whole thing was work actually at the Seniors Rehabilitation Center. I did a 6-month internship at a seniors home in a retirement home in Nova Scotia, and it wasn't a very good experience for me. And even when I was in youth group, it wasn't a great experience. I was always that kid that had something happen to them that was unpleasant when they went, and so taking the youth, when I heard we were going to this rehab center, I had a lot of anxiety. I don't think I let it show, but I was quite nervous going into it. And then in orientation, they were saying, okay, well, here are a few of our residents that you want you want to make sure you make contact with, and here are a few you want to watch out for because, sometimes they can be a bit forward. And so, there was one lady named Sylvia who she loved to dance. She had castanets, and she would grab someone if she heard some music or if the mood struck her, and she'll dance with you. And she's very, very outgoing, and she was a lot of fun, actually. And then there was another lady named Marie, and she believed that the dining room was her actual home dining room. So when people came to visit in the dining room, she'd get really upset, sometimes yell at them and tell them to go away, or get mad because she thought it was hers, and we didn't ask permission to be there. And so, to be fair, it is technically her dining room. That's where she lives. And so they said, just, if she's in a bad mood, just don't take it personal. It's just how it is. So anyway, I was kind of nervous going in. We were playing volleyball with the residents, and I ended up talking with Marie for almost an hour and a half, and she shared her story. She was very pleasant. She was in a great mood. She showed me pictures of when she was in the Navy, and it was a really neat experience, and she was the one that they warned us about the most. So it was almost God said, okay, I'm going to give you the most difficult experience at the beginning, so that way the rest is a piece of cake. And he really walked me through that. And I do believe that God carried me through because I was very, 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 very nervous going into it. So it was neat because it's not been something that I've been really good at my whole life. And so I stepped really far outside of my comfort zone to do that. The next question, what is something that you did that you didn't think that you could do? Something that you did that you didn't think that you could do.
Is it on? One of the things that I found really difficult was working at Lincoln Heights and doing all the yard work, and I mulched a lot, and I did some weed work, and I found that was something that I didn't think I was going to be able to do because I'm not very savvy in that kind of way. And it was really cool just to see how, even though I knew nothing about gardening or yard work or landscaping, I was still able to put myself out there and help out with it.
Anybody else?
I think that it was really hard at the rehabilitation center because I'm a really quiet person and I don't usually like to initiate a conversation, especially with people that I'm not comfortable with and I've never met. But I ended up talking to a lot of really nice people, and I met a lot of new people, and it was really nice.
I'll second that, Alice. I'm also a very shy person. I would say starting off with conversations with people on the street and intentionally starting those conversations, it's definitely, it was just a neat experience to do that, to consider how to continue doing that.
Thank you. Third question is, what was your favorite experience of the week? It can be serious or it could be funny.
I think my favorite experience would be when we first showed up at Lincoln Heights in the projects. There was another group there from Tampa, I do believe, that were ahead of us, and they were all just sitting on the hill doing nothing. Our group showed up there. We met with Robert, the director, and right away our kids just took to the work, and this other group just sat back and said no one told them what to do. Our kids just did it, just stepped out and did the work. I'm very, very proud of them.
Anybody else?
My favorite moment was after we went to the homeless shelter. We were told that we were going to do kind of an ATL, which is an Ask the Lord. So what we were to do was we were to go and kind of pray to ourselves and see where he would lead us and who we were going to talk to and who we were going to pray for. And I went with Julia and Emily and Madison, and we met this really fun group of people. There was about 4 or 5 of them. And they were just really interested to hear about Canada and hear about the snow and the cold weather and how we were dealing with the hot weather. And they were just so open to talking to us, and when we asked if we could pray for them, they just immediately grabbed our hands and they wanted to pray holding hands, and I thought that was a really beautiful, wonderful thing. Oh, and they also gave us a newspaper that was written by the homeless people. They wrote the articles, they put the paper together, they printed it, and they gave us a copy for free, even though normally they would request a $2 donation. And it was just really cool to read and to see that they wanted to share their world with us.
There was a really interesting lady at the rehab center. Her name was Betsy. Betsy was in an accident years ago and suffered some severe brain damage, but she still believes it's 1965. So she was a hoot. Like, she was asking if we knew who Garrison Keillor was, and I know who he is because of my grandparents, but like, she really doesn't believe it's 2014, doesn't believe that any of the things have happened in the last 50 years. So she was just really fun to talk to, and she had a lot of great stories, and she had a really fantastic flair, and she was just a really great person.
I met a really nice lady at the rehabilitation center named Anne. I had a very good time with her.
I'll just continue that for Timmy. Probably one of the neatest things from this experience was for John, Timmy, and I to experience this as a family and to have this opportunity as a family. And it was neat to see Timmy connect with Anne at the rehabilitation center. He did enjoy that experience, and likewise she did. She mentioned to him at the end of the week how much he was the highlight of her week, but she didn't realize that she was also the highlight of his week too.
Anybody else? I guess one of my favorite experiences, it's probably a little, I told it this morning too, it's probably a little inappropriate, but that's okay, we're all a family, right? And so one of the things I tell the youth all the time is that if they need anything, as long as it's legal and it won't hurt myself or them, that I'll give it to them. I've told them in the past I'd literally give them the shirt off my back if they needed it. And so I'm eating breakfast one morning with everybody, and one of the kids came up to me and said, "Hey, Andy, can I have your shirt?" And I said, "Well, do you need it?" And they said, "Yes." And so I was able, I ripped my shirt off and I gave it to them, and they kind of walked away with it. And it was all part of a bet that they had made. But the reason why it was significant is because they were playing a silly game, but it also gave me the opportunity to tell them that I was for real about what I said. I say a lot of things to our kids. One of the big things is that we're a family, that everybody has a right to come here and feel welcome and feel a part of things, and that we're a family, and families do things for each other, even strange things. And so it was a real valuable life lesson that I think was good, and it was hilarious because everybody just burst out laughing, and I think it was a good moment. And another part of this trip that was a really big thing for me is that I don't know if you realize how awesome of a group of teenagers and people we have that went on this trip, but the three guys who were kind of our leaders from Adventures and Missions, they do these trips a lot. Some of them have done them as members and participants, and others have done them as leaders. But one of the things that I heard every day, multiple times a day, is how amazing our group is, how willing they are to serve, how willing they are to do whatever is asked of them, and the most important thing is without complaint. There were very, very, very few complaints on the trip, and even on the day that the temperature got up over 106 degrees. And so I think my favorite part of the whole trip experience was just watching our team adapt and maneuver and do exactly what was asked of them. And it wasn't a big ask. It was, "Come on, guys, let's try it." "Okay." And they'd run off. And so if there's parents in here, you're doing a great job. I just want to say kudos to you, to the job that you're doing, raising these kids, and also just the people who supported us and prayed for us during this time. Because it truly was a very, very good experience. And if anything, I guess my most favorite thing of all is how we grew together as a group. We connected, we bonded in a way that we may not have done otherwise. And so 34 hours on a bus will do that for you. And so it was really, really cool to see how God worked and how these kids worked. So right now we have one more question left, but I'm going to save that till after the slideshow. There was one day when we walked, I think it was 17 kilometers or 21 kilometers. Well, I know it was 29,647 steps. So whatever that works out to in kilometers, it was a hot day. And there was never any complaints. There was never any moments except from me, but you'll see that on the slideshow. There's a picture of me where you can see exactly how I felt after 29,000 steps. And so let's cue that up.
You're the God of this city. You're the King of these people. You're the Lord of this nation. You are. You're the light in this darkness. You're the hope to the hopeless. You're the peace to the restless. You are. There is no one like our God. There is no one like our God. For greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done in this city. Greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done in this city. You're the God of this city. You're the King of these people. You're the Lord of this nation. You are. You're the light in this darkness. You're the hope to the hopeless. You're the peace to the restless. You are. There is no one like our God. There is no one like our God. For greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done in this city. Greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done in this city. Greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done There is no one like our God. There is no one like you, God. For greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done in this city. Greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done. We believe in you, God. Greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still
one of our ongoing jokes on the trip was parkour, which is free running, and usually that's really fancy and stuff. And so we made a video of us doing parkour all over the city. And I just wanted to point, there was a picture on there where we were at a place called T.C. Williams High School, and it was kind of neat because we watched a movie on the way down on the bus called Remembering the Titans. It's a Disney movie about one of the first interracial football teams. And so we watched it, and then sure enough, as we were driving to our church, 2 blocks away was the actual high school from from the movie. And so that sign that I was standing in front of actually showed the season, 1970, I think it was 1971, that they actually did. So we just thought that was kind of a neat thing that we saw there. And so the final question I wanted to ask, and then we'll close things off, is what is something that you noticed about someone else on the trip that was encouraging? So something that you saw about one of the other participants on the trip that you'd like to just kind of share that you saw.
One of the youth that really impressed me was Julia. She stepped out so much, and she was just, I noticed especially on the day that I was telling you about after the homeless shelter, she just went and she just talked, and she was so open and friendly, and she did that all the time, and she was really willing to participate with everyone, whether it be at the Lincoln Heights or the Rehabilitation Center or wherever we went. She was just really friendly and open to everybody.
Well, I was also going to say Julia, but you already covered that, Candace. So 2 people that really impressed me was Thomas and another boy, Garrett, who isn't here right now. But it really impressed me because Garrett, as you saw in like the parkour video, he was on a wheelchair, but he also had crutches, and he was able to remain very active and keep working really hard. And when he went to pick up garbage around Lincoln Heights, he didn't even want to bring his crutches. He insisted that he didn't need them, and he worked really hard. And Thomas, because he spent the week pushing Garrett around in his wheelchair, and I think he worked really hard and stepped out of his comfort zone too.
I was just really overall impressed with all of the youth. It's just really amazing to see a group of kids who are just really devoted to the church and devoted to God. And it was really cool to see them all grow this week, and to just to see them come out of their comfort zone and jump off the boat. So it was a really great experience, I think, for all of us.
I was going to say similar, Brittany. It wasn't just the youth, but the whole team, really. And Andy showed very wonderful leadership. I know that as adults, we were all feeling responsible, but these kids were amazing. And our schedule started, well, for Carlene, often 5 in the morning or before, and she'd go running. And then there were only 2 female showers and 2 male showers, and we were a group of about 30 or more, and there was another group there of 40 that we had to share those showers with, teenage girls, if you can imagine, and we were hot most of the time. People were wonderful. They really accommodated. The kids were amazing, and so were the adults. And it's a time when you really make friendships and you really see people's strength because you're tired, you're sleeping on the floor, you know, you're making breakfasts, you're making lunches, you're cleaning up the church, you're going for devotions, you're from 6 until 11 most nights. So I was amazed by every one of us and the people that joined us on the trip as well. It was quite amazing to think how well we got to get along with one another, and people just picked up, and if they saw something that needed to get done, they did it.
Andy had mentioned in the first service about us going to the homeless shelter, and Andy and myself took a group of young men here right into the male section of the homeless shelter, and in through the beds and into the kitchen and common area where the TVs and stuff are. And at first, everybody sort of huddled around and sort of looking around, and a lot of the youth, after coaxing from Andy and myself, got them to start speaking to these homeless people. Some of the young men here actually got whipped pretty bad playing chess with one of the homeless guys. It was pretty cool. And me and Andy had probably a 2-hour conversation with a gentleman named Robert from South Carolina. So we talked about almost anything under the moon with him. He was just appreciative of having us there.
And I guess just on what John said, it was fun to watch the kids kind of settle in, right? Because every time we went to someplace new, there was a bit of reluctance, and they were holding back a bit. And but with a little bit of encouragement, I mean a small amount of encouragement, you could see them always step up and meet the challenge. Because I believe they believed and they knew that God was going to give them what they needed to do, what they needed to do. You know, and I remember the homeless shelter were sitting there, and I mean, these were some pretty big, scary guys. And, you know, one guy, he pulled out his chessboard, like John was saying, and I remember Thomas and Josh played a game or two with them, and then Tim stepped up and played a game, and played another game, and the guy was winning, and then the third time, him and Tim played again, and we had to go halfway through the game, and Tim's like, Dad, I'm winning this time. So, and it was hard to get people to leave. Like at the nursing home, by the third day that we were there, you know, we were painting nails, and the energy level was so high. And one of the stories I want to share is, and this is what kind of really impressed me about the whole time spelling love thing, is that there was a lady named Barbara, and Laura was doing the devotion for that morning with some of the ladies there, and halfway through or sometime through the devotion, one of them started kind of crying, and she was upset, and she just kept saying, nobody loves me, I'm unloved. And, you know, Laura would respond, we do love you, people here love you, and reminding her that, you know, she is loved by God, and that's important to understand. And then one of the youth were painting her nails, and again, she broke down crying and just said, nobody loves me, I'm unloved, I'm alone. And, you know, this really upset the youth, but we affirmed her, we encouraged her, and we said, you know what, we might be going home soon, but we love you. And if you don't remember anything else, remember that God loves you. And we just reaffirmed her and reminded her and told her. So we're leaving. I believe Dawn was walking out, and one of the resident nurses looks at her and says, Barbara, your eyes look red. Have you been crying? Are you sad? And she looked up at the RA and smiled and said, no, I'm really happy. And so it dawned on me when I heard that story that it's the time that we're giving, right? It's not so much the food is important and the shelter is important, but what really speaks to people is time, you know? And that's what Jesus gave. He listened. He took time with people. And that's what I think using our talents and serving is using our time. And I mean, I can tell stories probably about every single person up here and the people who aren't here. And it was just a great week. We grew as a team, we grew as people, and you know, it wasn't, and I want to emphasize, this wasn't just for the youth, right? This was a family mission tour. This was for everybody involved, and I hope you got that we all took stuff away from this. So it's not this is a nice experience for the kids. We all grew. And these guys, the younger ones, encouraged me probably more than I encouraged them. And so it was a great experience. And I wanted to share that with you and say thank you for your prayer and support during this trip. It was so important. And it's only going to make us better as a team here in Moncton. And we hope that we can use the lessons that we learned and the things that we took away from this to really enrich the ministry of First Baptist here in Moncton, because really we're excited to get back into the swing of things and do it. So thank you. And I just want to remind you that, again, today we have Soup Kitchen. And so if anybody is able to come and help out in the kitchen or serve, we won't turn anyone away. So please feel free to do that. Hi. Okay. And so, I'm just going to pray, and we're going to close the service now. We're going to, So let's just come to the Lord in prayer. God, we thank you for the privilege we had to serve in your name, for the privilege that we have to continue to serve here in Moncton. God, we pray that you continue to bless people in Washington through the relationships that we made, but also begin to use the things that we learned here in Moncton and bless the people here in this town. So thank you, God, for the privilege we have to carry your message to the lost. And Lord, give us the strength and patience to carry that forward in a kind and loving way. We love you. Thank you so much. For it's in your name, Lord, we pray. Amen.